Hey everyone, this is Lynn Vartan, and you are listening to the A.P.E.X. Hour on KSUU Thunder 91.1. In this show, you get more personal time with the guests who visit Southern Utah University from all over, learning more about their stories and opinions beyond their presentations on stage. We will also give you some new music to listen to and hope to turn you on to some new sounds and new genres. You can find us here every Thursday at 3 p.m. or on the web at seu.edu/apex. But for now, welcome to this week's show here on Thunder 91.1. Okay, well, welcome everyone. It is Thursday. It's 3 o'clock. This is the A.P.E.X. Hour. You're listening to KSUU Thunder 91.1. We had our kickoff for our season this week, and I have been having such a great time for the last day or so talking with my guest, Erika Sánchez, who's in the studio live with us today. Welcome, Erika.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm going to try. We had a great hour on stage this morning, and so I'm going to try to find some different questions and get into some different topics. So hopefully we're not duplicating any information.
Sure.
And we will be putting Erika's talk up on our website, so anybody who missed it today will be able to get a chance to hear our discussion. We did an interview-style hour on stage, and it was just a real joy. So for those of you who are listening live, Erika is an author and a poet. You've also been a journalist and
Yes.
all kinds of things. And we have been just really enjoying talking about your writing, talking about all different kinds of things. So let's dig in. We started by talking a little bit about your background. And I'd love to just get a little bit more into that. We talked about the process of kind of becoming a writer. And I'd love if you could focus a bit on just kind of some of the career things, or maybe a few of the career milestones that you had that led to who you are today.
Sure. Yeah. I think when you choose to be a writer, you choose, in a sense, a life of rejection, because that's just what happens.
Right.
No matter how successful you are, it takes a lot to get to that success, right? And there were many, many times where I was very discouraged. And so there were moments in my life that were just so significant that kept me going and made me feel like I was doing something right. And so I think one of the first ones early in my career was when I got a Fulbright to go to Spain.
All right.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was living in Madrid for a year. I was a teaching assistant at a junior high, part-time, and then the rest of the time I was writing.
Oh, a junior high.
Yeah. Those kids were kind of terrible. I'm not gonna lie. They're awful.
Well, that's kind of the thing about junior high, the extra squirrely at that age.
Oh my God, yes.
Did you write because Fulbright is a grant that you write?
Yes.
And did you write it to, the grant was written to go and spend time writing, or was teaching a component of the grant?
That was one of the options, and that one made sense to me because I didn't have like a full formed project in mind yet.
Ah, I see.
So I thought it'd be good to just try that route.
Yeah.
And it worked out really great. I mean, I had very minimal responsibilities, and I was able to take a poetry class in the city every Thursday, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Oh, what was that like? I mean, it just sounds like the most romantic thing, taking a poetry class in Madrid.
It was so great. It was everything that I had envisioned.
Yeah.
You know, I met just incredible people. We were such a motley group.
Yeah.
You know, everyone came from very different backgrounds. There was an older businessman. There was a young punk girl, and our professor was this large man who wore funny hats, and he smoked cigarettes in the class, and we would go out afterwards and drink beer, and it was just incredible. It was so fun.
Oh, those sound like characters in your next
story.
story.
My God, yeah. We would just talk about poetry all night, and it was just so wonderful.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
So that sounds like an incredible milestone. What were there any others? Are there any others that come to mind?
Yeah. After grad school, I had some rough patches because I didn't know what to do with my life, really.
Right.
I had this useless degree and I was like, well, what do I do now? And so I had all these jobs that I just really wasn't happy with. And at one point, I think I was 29 or 28. I got a poetry prize, a Discovery Boston Review Prize, and it's for emerging writers. And I feel like that kind of shifted everything for me. And that also gave me a lot of encouragement because it was like a significant accomplishment. I got to go to New York, and I read at the 92nd Street Y. And
oh, great.
so that was really exciting. And then after that, I received a large fellowship from the Poetry Foundation, and that really helped because I was not doing great financially because I had left this awful job that had terrible effects on my mental health. And so the money was it was exactly what I needed.
Right.
And then after that, my books were picked up for publication. I remember the moment that I found out that the novel was accepted. We got an offer from Knopf Books for young readers, and my agent sent me an email. I was at a conference in Charlotte, and I got the email, saying that my book was going to be published, and I had waited my entire life for this, it felt. And I just sat there having to pretend to listen for the rest of the hour while I was just like exploding inside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't have checked my email at that time, but I did. And I was just like, what do I do? I feel like screaming.
Oh, you must have been beaming.
Yeah. Yeah, I was. It was so exciting. So, yeah, those are a few. Definitely.
Cool. Thank you for sharing those.
Sure.
I was curious. I read a little bit about your time in Norway. Exiled writers from around the world and pickled fish for breakfast. I think it says in your bio.
Yeah.
I'm curious about what that experience was like. It also sounds like a very sort of romantic, in a way.
It was. Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that I'd be in Scandinavia? Like that wasn't something that I really dreamt of, I mean, I always dreamt of traveling the world, but I just never pictured Norway, right?
Right. And
I got invited through this organization. I think it was funded through the MacArthur Grant.
Oh, yeah.
And this organization in Chicago called the Guild Complex invited 5 writers from the city to go to Norway for this festival. And we had a lot of interaction with poets that were exiled living in Norway. And they actually, some of them went to Chicago. So it was like a cross-cultural exchange. And so, we went to a city called Stavanger, and it was very beautiful. We went and saw the fjords, and it was just a stunning landscape. The food, however, was quite terrible, I will say. The pickled fish, like at first it was really exciting because I'm an adventurous eater. So I got there and I was like, ooh, yum, fish for breakfast, right? And then by day 3, I was like, this is disgusting. So it was an adventure. And then we got to meet like more exiled writers from like many war-torn countries. And like these people had risked their lives to write,
Yeah.
And that really changed the way that I saw writing. I'm like, people are putting their lives on the line to do this.
Right.
So I better like step it up,
Wow.
And I was just like in awe of all these people. It was really incredible.
Oh, that's really inspiring. What an incredible moment.
It was great. It was great.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we're just getting started with our conversation, but I thought I'd play a song. We've been talking about like all kinds of cool authors and music. And I know that Erika has an interest in art and music. And so I picked out, as you guys know, I'm always like picking out things that I like. And I picked out a few songs from some really cool, feisty, strong Latina singers that I love. So the first one is Rosalia, and the song is Malamente. Let's have a listen and see what you think.
Ese gritarito roto, yo sentí como crujía antes de caerse al suelo. sabía que se rompía. Está parpadeando la luz del descansillo. Una voz de la escalera, alguien cruzando el pasillo. Malamente, sí, sí, malamente. Mira, malamente. Pa' que toma, que malamente. Y yo, malamente. Malamente. Se ha puesto la noche rara, me salió luna y estrella. Me lo dijo esa gitana, que mejor no salí a verla. Sueño que estoy andando por un puente que la acera. Mira, 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 mira. Cuanto más quiero cruzarlo, va, más se mueve y tambalea. Malamente, así sí, malamente. Mira, malamente. Pa' que toma, que malamente. Y yo, malamente. Malamente. Aunque no esté bonita, la noche donde ve, voy a salir para la calle, la manita, los aros brillando, mi piel, los corales. Después déjame salen, me iluminen, me guarden y por delante. No voy a perder ni un minuto en volver a pensarte. Malamente, así sí, malamente. Mira, malamente. Pa' que toma, que malamente. Y yo, malamente. Y yo, malamente. Pa' que toma, que malamente. Y yo, malamente. Malamente. Pa' que toma, que malamente. Y yo, malamente. Malamente.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. That song was Malamente by Rosalia. Hope you enjoyed it. I am in the studio with Erika Sánchez, and we are talking about her writing. And she's been generous enough to offer to read a little bit. And if you're interested in weren't at the event earlier today, her poetry book is called Lessons on Expulsion, published by Grey Wolf in July of 2017, finalist for the Pan American Book Award. And then her young adult novel, which we've also been talking about and will continue to talk about, is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, also published in 2017. And it was a New York Times bestseller and a National Book Awards finalist. So welcome back, Erika.
Thank you.
So I would love for you to read to us.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to read a very Chicago poem.
Okay, great.
A woman runs on the first day of spring, Chicago. When I am a stranger to my own ruin, twilight reminds me to give alms to my best sins. March, the city is purging in the humility of worms, salt washing from the grasses. When I breathe in, I say thank you. When I breathe out, I say gone. I say garden. I say guns. 3 crows devour the dead rat. Look at all that booty, the man mutters and blows me kisses. The sky is worthless, and my bulbous ass is always a dinner bell. I run farther. I run with the feather inside my ear. I run from a bird with a broken neck and follow the sound of thawing snow. Aren't we all boundless, though, the way a dream secretes the morning after, the way moths feed on the eyes of fawn, two and not two, vines that strangle trees never say they're sorry. I reach the lake with this grateful ache in my throat, and if I say my body is its own crumbling country, if I say I am always my own home, then what does that make me?
Thank you so much.
Thank
wow.
you.
I love hearing you read your work.
Thank
I think
you.
it's amazing. Wow. I don't know. It's just, it comes to life in a way that, of course, because it comes from you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for doing that. One of the things that I've been thinking about in my reading, I know that you mentioned how you often began writing for the little girl version of you in a way. And I'm curious how your relationship with your writing has evolved. How is it? Is it different now than it was 10 years ago? And if so, how?
I think it is really different. I think I was writing from a place of healing, and I will always write from a place of healing. But I think that 10 years ago, I was still grappling with a lot of things that I wasn't quite fully aware of. I wasn't really sure that I could get through, you know, and now that I'm, 35 years old and I'm very established in many ways, I'm very happy. I have a great life. There's much more joy in my work, I hope. And so, I think that has shifted. I no longer feel like I have to parent that young girl. Within myself. Maybe at times I do, but not to the extent that I had to. You know, I've done a lot of work, I think through therapy, through my spiritual practice, through writing. And I'm just in a very different place where I feel very secure. I feel that I get to do exactly what I want to do. And so that is just a tremendous gift to me.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned your spiritual life and your spiritual journey, and I know that several people have already asked me about it. You mentioned your Buddhist practice and your Buddhism practice, and we had a great time talking about that yesterday too. Yeah. I wondered if you could share a little bit, publicly about that.
Of course. Yeah, it's something that has really transformed my life. I discovered it, I guess, officially 4.5 years ago. I had always been interested in Buddhism ever since I was in high school, but I had never really delved deeply into the philosophy. It was something that intrigued me for a long time, and I had tried going to a temple like in my late 20s, but it wasn't right for me. And then, the story of my life, I joke, is that a guy creeped me out, and so I stopped going. Unfortunately. So I hadn't really thought about it for a while, and then a friend of mine, actually, who I met during that trip to Norway, introduced me, because I met them. They're trans, so that I refer to them as they. Yeah. They just had this spirit that I really loved. And I was like, I want that. And I was like, we're going to be friends. And so we became friends, and they started to invite me to meetings and told me about their spiritual practice. And I became intrigued. But I was going through a really tough depression during that time. And even though there was something pulling me toward it, I wasn't committing to it, because I was so depressed that I just could hardly even leave my apartment.
Right.
So eventually, as I got better, I started going to more meetings, and then I officially converted. I read a text that was just really mind-blowing. It was called Buddha in Your Mirror, and I felt like the philosophy just explained my entire life to me.
Yeah.
And I was able to see things much more clearly. I had clarity in a number of ways, and I had a lot more wisdom, and I started to make some changes and different choices. And so I feel like it has been really powerful in making my life better.
And what is it specifically about it, or about the practice that is so appealing to you?
I think first, it makes complete sense. It focuses on the cause of law and effect, or the law of cause and effect, excuse me, which is something that can't be disputed. Like, you have an action, and then there's going to be a reaction. And so to think of your life in that way, I think is very comforting, because it just makes sense. And so knowing that whatever effort I put it into my life, I will, reap a benefit from. And that having that sort of control over my destiny is just really powerful for me, especially as a woman. And so another part that I really loved when I first started to learn about it was there was no clergy. There were no hierarchies. And that's something that always bothered me about Catholicism, that I just like could not understand. I'm like, why are these priests telling me that I have to obey my husband? You know, like I couldn't grasp that. That was not okay for me.
Yeah.
And so there was that part. Also, the idea of everything being interconnected, that makes sense to me as well, especially as a poet. That's how I see the world. Like we're all, you know, a part of this tapestry. And so whatever we do affects other people and the environment. And we change ourselves and then we change our environment. And I think that is something that we should all take ownership of. If our lives are going terribly wrong, like we need to examine like what is happening within us. And some things we have no control over, like death. We're all going to die, right? People are going to get sick, etc. And that's another part, like accepting that these are going to be parts of our lives, that there will be suffering, but you can find meaning in suffering and transform suffering.
Mm-hmm. I love that. If anybody listening wants to kind of get involved or sort of explore it on their own, would you suggest starting with just reading that book?
Yeah, I think that book is a really great primer. And also I'll mention that I'm part of the Soka Gakkai International Organization, and SGI for short. And so if you want to learn more about that, you know, go ahead and Google, and I'm sure you could find your local chapter.
Great. And then that book is called Buddha in Your Mirror.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like it's transformed your life and probably also then therefore transformed your writing somehow.
Yeah, I feel that I make connections that I maybe couldn't have made before.
Okay.
That I see the way things are braided together and the way things affect each other.
Oh, I love that. The way things are braided together. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
The next sort of thing that I wanted to ask you about has to do with ambition. And I find myself thinking and talking about ambition a lot. And it seems to me from what I've read that you seem to be always a very ambitious person as a child, as an adult, always searching. And so I'd love for you to speak to your relationship with ambition in your life and also how that manifests itself, overcoming obstacles. Like how do you choose, ambition and get through obstacles that come up?
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot. And yes, I've always been ambitious ever since I was little. I had great dreams and most of them have just come true. So I think ambition is something that could really carry you when you're living in like difficult circumstances. For instance, like I grew up pretty poor, very traditional Mexican household. You know, I wasn't really expected to be defiant, and I was very defiant. I was a very difficult child. I questioned everything. And so I remained that way, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. But yeah, I had this dream of being a writer and seeing the world. And there was no reason why I should believe that was possible. There just wasn't. There was no example of that. Everyone in my environment, like all the adults, worked in factories, and the women married early, had kids really young, etc. Had very difficult lives, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I just won't. And I had the privilege not to, because you know I'm a citizen. I speak English well, etc. Like I had advantages that you know people before me didn't. So. You know, I was pretty determined to live the life that I wanted, and for many years I struggled to make it happen. But I just always had this idea of what I wanted the world and life to be, and I just never stopped. And it's created some conflict also because as a woman, you're not supposed to be that way. You know, like it's not really encouraged. when I go after something, like, I'm pretty tenacious, I'm going to do it no matter what. So, as a result, I've gotten many, many opportunities, many accolades, etc. But it makes people very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I'm mostly amused by it, like, whatever. I don't really care. But for instance, dating has been very difficult as a result.
Right. As is attested to your social media.
Oh my God. Yeah. You've read some of my horror stories. And so it scares men a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess it weeds them out, like the ones that are not equipped for it.
Right.
Which is, I guess, okay, but it's also very frustrating.
Right.
So yeah, it's been an experience, to put it lightly.
Well, cool. On that note, I think it's time for another musical break. Okay, Golondrina is the name of this song, and the artist is Dom La Nena. Yeah, check it out. This is the A.P.E.X. Hour, KSUU, Thunder 91.1.
Paso por tantos lugares que no recuerda más a quien quieto esperando para verla volver. Pasaron tantos días que ya no cuenta más la chica que creció. Hoy ya no espera más. Golondrina, déjame saber de ti. Golondrina, quiero parecerme a ti. Golondrina, sola me iré volando. Golondrina, a donde diga mi llanto. Quiero parecerme a ti.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Thanks for listening. That was Golondrina by Dom La Nena. And this is Lynn Vartan. You're listening to the A.P.E.X. Hour. I'm joined in the studio with Erika Sánchez. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
We were just talking about, I didn't know that Golondrina means swallow, and you have a swallow tattoo on your arm. And that's one of the names that your parents call you. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother started calling me that because I travel so much and I never sit still, according to her. So she's always asking, like, where is my golondrina, because she never knows where I am.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
that's
very
beautiful.
Sweet. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. And your tattoo's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
So yeah, that artist is Dom La Nena. Check it out. It's a beautiful arrangement, I think, very simple. And then the violin that kind of comes in with some interesting techniques and sounds. So, all right. Well, I'd love to talk more about your novel.
Sure.
I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. And one of the things is that I understand you had some very obsessive times writing it, and you kind of went all in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It took a total of 5 years, and there were times where I had to step away from it, but there were moments where it consumed me completely. And one of those times was when I was recovering from a really terrible depression. When I was I was 30. I was 30, and it helped me get through it.
Yeah,
it did. At first, I couldn't write. For months, I couldn't write, and I was just so depressed about that. I felt like something, a part of me had been taken away, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
And so when I began to write again, it felt like I was returning to myself, and I just was on a rampage, and like it's all I thought about. It's all I talked about. I was working full time and then writing in the evenings. I was nonstop. Yeah. And I think it was really helpful to heal in many ways. And so I was like in a frenzy, and then I gave it some time. I revised it, and I have some spurts here and there. Sometimes my writing is like incredibly slow. Sometimes I have those moments, and so it varies.
And when you kind of were in a spurt, would you write like way into the wee hours of the night, I can sort of imagine it.
Yeah, it was frantic.
Yeah,
my husband at the time, he was concerned. He was like, "What is happening?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he thought like I was going through a manic episode or something.
Wow.
And maybe I was.
Could be. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it felt great.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about Julia, the main character. But one thing that we didn't get to is this issue of identity. And I've heard you quote the Walt Whitman, "I contain multitudes." And I just kind of like to get into that, the multitudes of identities that we all have. And I know that sometimes people ask you if you were Julia and that kind of thing. But I'd love to sort of get into the character study, or just the reality of characters and ourselves having multitudes existing in all these different spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to us, you know. We're not just one thing. I'm so many different things all at once, and I change all the time, and I think that's what I was trying to reflect in Julia as well, is that she is so much more than what people see. And I think that's the case for everyone. Like we contain like so many experiences and hurts and joys that like no one will ever know.
Right.
And I think that's really beautiful. And so I wanted to create a character who was really complex and at times difficult, and people had a hard time with her.
Yeah.
Some people, I think it was mostly adults because kids love her. But yeah, I myself, I'm Mexican American. I am the daughter of immigrants. I am Buddhist. I am feminist. I am this. I am that. Et cetera. It goes on and on and on. And so I think sometimes people want to put us in these boxes, and then when we don't fit, they get upset.
Right. And I feel, of course that's so obvious with Julia, but every character in the book contains those multitudes, as we all do. And I think you do just an amazing job of bringing those out at different levels of obviousness. I mean, because even the father, the mother, even the sister and the friends, they all have these varying degrees of transparency to the multitudes inside them.
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. That's really important for me as a writer, to be able to do that, to create characters that feel palpable, not necessarily characters that you would like, but characters that feel real. And I think compassion and empathy are like really critical in being a writer. Like, you have to imagine what it's like to be other people.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then I don't know if you can write, because that's just such a critical part of it.
And in the book, we talked this morning a little bit about the mental health aspect of it that comes out and so strongly, and has been such an amazing part of this book. I witnessed people talk to you afterwards and just say it's so important to talk about these issues now. And I'd love to just sort of get into that just a little bit more. What kinds of responses, particularly to that part of the story, have you had from young adults?
Oh my God, so many. It's overwhelming. I didn't expect that people would cry as often that they do. That's something that I just couldn't have imagined. And it's very touching. Sometimes, like, emotionally it's hard because I don't know how to like handle it.
Right.
But it's very beautiful. I'm very grateful that the book has done that for them. So just people telling me very beautiful things after readings, it's incredible. And then, I receive notes, messages, emails, etc. And one actually response that I will always remember, it was at a high school. I think it was in Texas. And a young woman after my presentation asked, "How many lives do you think your book has saved?" Wow. And I was just stunned by the question. I was like, what in the world? Like, I don't even know what to say.
Wow.
I thanked her for her question, and I was like, I have no clue, but thank you. I see you.
Yeah.
And I was just left wondering.
Yeah.
And recently, a poet that I really love, they put on Twitter that my last poem in my collection literally saved their life.
Wow.
And that blew me away. I didn't know what to say to that either. I was just like, I'm sending you love because that means everything to me. Thank you. So I'm just really fortunate to be able to do that. And the fact that my work has that kind of like power in people's lives, it's like something that I could not have fathomed.
Right. The book deals a lot with the relationship between the parents and the children, and taking into account also mental health and depression and suicide awareness. Is there, in this process and in your growth, is there anything that parents can do or should do?
Yeah, I think it's really important for parents to be aware of what depression is, first of all. I think a lot of them don't. They just think, oh, my teenager's being difficult and moody, etc. When in fact it's a clinical problem and it's not a phase at times. It's like an illness. And so to become more aware of what depression is, what the signs are, not to judge their kids' behavior too harshly because they're going through something very difficult, and to be open and listen. I think that's really critical. I could never have these conversations with my parents when I was growing up. Like, I just held everything inside because I didn't feel comfortable. And so that communication is really critical. And the way that I hope to raise children is going to be very different. But just like being understanding and not being afraid to talk about uncomfortable things.
Yeah. And it seems like, in a way, art saved you through your writing and the power of art. And I noticed that thread in the book. I mean, the father drew or
Yeah.
draws. And I was just curious if you think that art is an answer, or could be an answer, because of the kind of mirror-like qualities in art. Art can show you life, can teach you things. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, definitely for me, art has just shaped me, in many ways, in art in all forms, music, visual art, literature, etc. I think it has that power, and it is one way to see the world. It offers like many different lenses, and it shows you both often the beauty and the horror of being a person. And it makes you feel less alone, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I interact with art, that I'm not alone in this journey.
Mm-hmm. And with everything that you've gone through, how do you deal with critics? I mean, that to me as an artist, that's one of the hardest things. I mean, that we, not just the inner critic, but the outer critics as well. Do you have any tactics? Do you have any armor that you're willing to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think at this point in my life, I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm very happy with the person that I've become. So I'm not as affected by criticism as I once was. I'm just not that fragile. Mm-hmm. And there are times where it does hurt my feelings, or I feel misunderstood, etc. But I have come to terms with the fact that I cannot please everyone. My story is only one story, and it can't be everything to the whole world. Not everyone is going to like me. Not everyone's going to like my books. And that's okay, because I'm not here to please everyone here. I exist to seek the truth, whether that makes me unlikable or not.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. That's great. What a great statement. Well, that's a perfect time to play another song. And speaking of strength in women, Anna Tijoux is one of my favorite. I've played her before on the A.P.E.X. Hour. And this is a song called Shock. This is KSU Youth under 91.1.
No ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo, al son de un solo coro, marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que basta de robo, tu estado de control, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro, no, la hora sonó, no permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó. No hay países, solo corporaciones. ¿Quién tiene más acciones? Trozos gordos, poderosos, decisiones por muy pocos. Constitución pinochetista, derecho Opus Dei, lindo fascista, golpista disfrazado de un indulto elitista. Cae la gota, cae la bolsa, la toma, se toma la máquina, rota la calle, no calle, la calle se raya, la calle no calle, debate que está y ya todo lo quitan, todo lo venden, todo se lucra, la vida, la muerte, todo es negocio, bajo tu toldo, semilla, pascuala, me todo seguro. Venenos, tus monólogos, tus discursos incoloros, no ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo, al son de un solo coro, marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que basta de robo, tu estado de control, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro, no, la hora sonó, no permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó, doctrina del shock, la hora sonó,
Solución a nuestro problema, otra termoeléctrica. De chilenos a la calle, mapuches, estudiantes y docentes reclamando al gobierno una mejor educación.
Golpe a golpe, verso a verso, con las ganas y el aliento, con cenizas, con el fuego del presente, con recuerdo, con certeza y con desgarro, con el objetivo claro, con memoria y con la historia, el futuro es ahora. Todo este tubo de ensayo, todo este laboratorio que a diario, todo este fallo, todo este económico modelo condenado de dinosaurio, todo se criminaliza, todo se justifica en la noticia, todo se quita, todo se pisa, todo suman. ¿Cuántos fueron los que se robaron las fortunas? Llénenos tus monólogos, tus discursos incoloros. No ves que no estamos solos, millones de polo a polo. Al son de un solo coro marcharemos con el tono, con la convicción que basta de robo. Tu estado de control, tu trono podrido de oro, tu política y tu riqueza y tu tesoro. No, la hora sonó, la hora sonó. No permitiremos más tu doctrina del shock. La hora sonó, la hora sonó. La hora sonó, la hora sonó. La hora sonó, la hora sonó. La hora sonó, la hora sonó.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. That was Shock on a Tiju, one of my favorites. You're listening to the A.P.E.X. Hour, KSUU Thunder 91.1. Welcome back, Erika Sánchez.
Hi, thank you.
Cool. We have our fun last few minutes, and I'd love to ask a couple questions. I know you love Toni Morrison.
I do.
And I'd love to ask you, for you, what is it about Toni Morrison for you? Of course, famed author, but for you.
Yeah. Oh, where do we begin with Toni Morrison? She was incredible.
Yeah.
Continues to be incredible. I feel that she was able to write about sex and desire in a way that was just stunning.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it done the way she does it. Like, I don't know, the way she writes is as if she were a poet, but she wasn't really a poet.
Yeah.
I mean, she published maybe a handful of poems in her life, but the way the prose is written is just so concise, so musical.
Yeah.
It's just transcendent, and there's no one like her.
Yeah.
And I am so sad that I never got to meet her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love hearing, she's amazing, but I love hearing what connects to you individually about it. Cool. Thank you.
Sure.
So the next thing is I've been looking at your social media, and you seem to love lipstick about as much as I love lipstick. So do you have any go-to favorites right now?
Yes. Well, I have a Fenty lip paint that I really like.
Okay.
It is really long-lasting, and I love Rihanna.
Yeah.
Obsessed with her.
Yeah.
So, I will support her always.
Have you tried her perfume?
No, is it good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've tried her underwear also. Lovely.
It's good?
Yeah.
Cool.
I really like it. And there's a company in Brooklyn, New York called High Wildflower, and it's run by a woman of color. Her name is Dani. I forgot her last name, but we follow each other on social media. I haven't actually met her in real life, but she's so lovely because I posted something about like what lipstick do you recommend for someone who likes to eat hamburgers and like not get lipstick all over her face. And she sent me 2 of her lipsticks, and they were incredible. So I've been ordering more.
Okay.
They're a little pricey, but they're made with like organic
Great
materials, and it's a really nice company. So I'm really into.
And the name is High Wildflower.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
High space wildflower. Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm totally Googling it. That's great.
Love it. Wonderful.
That's awesome. Well, I love me. Great. Everybody who knows me knows me. I love makeup. I love clothes. I love fashion. We've been really having fun talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, I have 2 more of our favorite questions that we always ask. And one of them, I just think this question is so interesting. And that is, if you were to meet yourself from 10 years ago in a bar fight, who would win that bar fight? It's tricky, right?
It's so tricky. I'm really scrappy. I'm little, and I don't look like I could do any damage, but I can. And I'm not afraid to fight.
Yeah.
I'm a Buddhist that will fight if need be, you know.
But 10 years ago, you weren't Buddhist.
I wasn't. That's true. That's so hard because, like, was I stronger then than I am now? Like, am I in better shape now than I was 10 years ago? Possibly.
And the mental, are you more, I know for me, I'm a little more careful now than I was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I did. This is probably revealing too much, but I did have an altercation a few months ago with
really?
a misogynist in the street.
Oh, no.
In London. And
my gosh.
Yeah.
This story gets better and better.
It was unfortunate. And I warned him. I was like, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to punch you in the face. And he didn't stop talking. And he was just really disrespectful. And I just lost it. And so, like, I would like to say that I'm more careful now, but I don't know if I am. Don't know.
So maybe a tie. Okay.
Tie.
All right. And last question that we love to ask is, what's turning you on this week? Now, this could be it could be a TV show. It could be a book. It could be a comic. It could be your lipstick. It could be anything.
Sure.
It's just a little bit of a like personal snippet that I always ask. So Erika Sánchez, what is turning you on this week?
Well, honestly, I really love trashy TV sometimes.
Me too.
It's so great. It's such an indulgence. And when I travel, I particularly love it because I'm an introvert. And so it helps just to relax and just, not think of anything. And
totally.
So once I get to my hotel room tonight, I will be watching something awful.
I love
it. What did I watch yesterday? I think I was telling you about Married at First Sight. What a train wreck. So good. And then, the housewives of wherever the hell,
Yes.
Also fun. It's just like the pettiness. It's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Girl after my own heart. Well, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you so much, Erika, for coming in and being on the radio with me.
Thank you so much.
Well, you've been listening to the A.P.E.X. Hour on KSUU Thunder 91.1. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much for listening to the A.P.E.X. Hour here on KSUU Thunder 91.1. Come find us again next Thursday at 3 p.m. for more conversations with the visiting guests at Southern Utah University and new music to discover for your next playlist. And in the meantime, we would love to see you at our events on campus. To find out more, check out suu.edu/APEX. Until next week, this is Lynn Vartan saying goodbye from the A.P.E.X. Hour here on Thunder 91.1.